What have I told you? That is not a toy hauler. Do I look like the kind of person that would joke about this? Welcome back, everybody, to Bish's RV. My name's Josh the RV Nerd, and behind us is the 27Pack10 Wolfpack, a very different kind of floor plan. It is potentially one of the most flex function Swiss Army campers I think you're ever going to see. So, I think by default, I don't really consider this a toy hauler first. I have so many people will ask me, man, why don't they make something with like a back patio deck, but, just not a big toy hauler garage? There's not a lot of them out there, and this is one of the very, very few. I consider it a bunkhouse first and foremost, but considering the bunks can move out of the way, which is ludicrous if you're picking up what I'm putting down, you could use this like just a solid couples camper that has a loading cargo space for like maybe, some bicycles, e-bikes, kayaks, dog kennels. You could strap down Edna. I mean, whatever works for you. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. You could use this a number of different ways because it has that power, basically toy hauler style Happy Jack double bed lift system, and then you just walk right out onto that big patio space in the back. It has a little mini kind of camp convenience center back there. I'm not going to call it like a camp kitchen in the back. It has kind of a mini camp kitchen off the camp side of the RV under the awning though. Power jacks, enclosed heated belly, tank heaters, improved solar package versus last year, both in terms of the size of the solar panel and the quality and capacity of the charge controller. Now it's a private front bedroom with it's kind of a weird Camp King bed, which is odd, and you're going to lose the bed in transit when the slide closes. That I can just tell you from experience. And giving you that kind of info, giving you the fair good with the bad, that's what I want to do here to help you determine if this might be your second camper the first time around, or if you might want to pass on this one. So if you like that, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're new with us. And as we go today, let me know what you like and what you change given the opportunity. Now, just to kind of help give the feel and the flow of this, and again, the reason I consider it like not a toy hauler, at least not primarily in the traditional sense, is because if you look at this, this is just a very traditional travel trailer living room. And again, with the Happy Jack power bed lift system here, you have the kind of option of doing the daytime move bunk, get out the way, and just having a wide open walkway right here. But you notice with a bunch of cargo tie downs, a dozen of them in this small little space, and it's still dovetailed slightly. You can still do plenty of loading over here. Now, compared to the previous generations of this, originally this cabinet was wood, and it did not have a plumbed sink. They've made a couple, I think, smart upgrades and improvements here based on some, viewership and ownership input that's out there. That sink outdoors right here, that is incredibly handy, by the way. And you might notice the TV hookups, that is all kind of set for some entertainment purposes. Now, it's prepped and ready for a 4-camera system. That would be potentially a rear camera, 2 side view cameras, and then a cargo camera that you'll actually notice a mount for that above the door. And if that's something you're looking for, those are all things that we can assist you with. I also really like these blackout snap-on shades, because if you are loading something in with like handlebars or whatever, it's not a big bulky window treatment that is inclined to get ripped off of there. Or if somebody's sleeping over there, they're not as inclined to rip it off by kind of rolling around, thrashing around. But this, to me, is one of the cool things. Not the fact that you get to see all the other RVs in the vicinity, but the fact that you've got this kind of elevated, patio space right here. It's just there when you need it, gone when you don't, kind of easy sort of camping. I like it. I think it's a very interesting, different, neat kind of thing. Now, backing up here a little bit, you can see they're all up against the ceiling currently. Now, I have seen some people who use this for couples camping who don't use it as traditional bunks, and what they'll do is they'll remove those mattresses and basically use that like a set of power drawers. You can put, fishing gear. I've heard some people have secured firearms up in there. I do think you should always have a way to keep those locked and secured, but I'm just sharing different things that I've seen right here. But backing up a little bit, of course, it is a potential bunk system. Well, you can drop one or both of the beds. You can, it's got a privacy curtain there for evening time. Although keep in mind, you are pretty much going to have to close the rear ramp patio for most evenings sleeping, depending on what's going on. But again, you can use it as 1 or 2 bunk mode. And the one thing you didn't see, in case you're curious, if you want to, you could leave the top bed up and drop only the bottom bed. I didn't get a quick sample of that now that I think about it, but that is an available opportunity here. Now, backing up a little bit further, we're basically in the bedroom doorway right now. If you walk out of the bedroom, this is what you see. It does not include a factory television, but you got that Maxell tapes kind of situation where you're staring dead on the entertainment system right there. And I do think it is kind of nice they still include that handy little Tootsie Toaster over there. Now, I think by default this floor plan's a jackknife sofa and theater seating is optional. If not, then theater seating has really just finally become standard, which it wasn't previously. But I think a lot of folks are going to be happy to see that. It makes sense with the entertainment location. Being fair, again, I'm going to try to shoot you straight because I ain't real good at shooting curved. The slide side windows do not open for airflow, but they did maximize the windows to give us as much viewing capacity as possible. It is also worth mentioning while we're sitting here, this is a wide body camper. It is maximum width wide body. It's actually bigger than a lot of fifth wheel toy haulers, and it is extra tall inside. So just because it still kind of has a little bit of that toy hauler DNA, you've got some big loading space back there. Now, I'm a little bit out of order for my normal run of things, but this RV, I think, is a little bit out of order for the normal run of things, so maybe it's appropriate here that we start cracking into the bathroom next. Now, by the way, this over here, tankless on-demand water heater controller, and then that like remote control, that is actually the controller for the big XL vent fan they have built into the ceiling of this, which I think is really funny that this is a brand of RV that is not trying to be the fanciest, most expensive, most heavily equipped over-the-top thing, but there are so many quote-unquote luxury manufacturers who still don't even give you a nicer fan like that. Now, there's a part of me that wonders if they even needed to put a skylight in that shower. I'm not convinced they did, because look at the headroom you have up there. I'm a little over 6 foot tall. I think you're going to have to be a power forward for your favorite basketball team for that to start to become an issue. That's just my 2 cents. Now, this is what I call the Cherokee shub. Not a shower, not a tub, a little bit of something in between. If you need to bathe a baby, it's deep enough. It's also just deep enough to keep that shower curtain under control there. Porcelain foot floor stool is also a little bit of a nice surprise, and the way that they have it cranked and angled, I really didn't have too much of a problem there. And in case you're wondering, what is this funky little angle piece of wood? That's where there's some plumbing lines running. They're just trying to kind of mask that up so it doesn't get stepped on. Now, they are still doing a carpeted super slide. Some people really dislike that. Some people like the warm feeling of carpet on their toes in the mornings or evenings or whatever. Different strokes, different folks, I do suppose, right there. They've also gone with a little more of a natural wood tone, although Wolfpack, within the Cherokee group of RVs, was a little bit more ahead of the trend on that one. Now, a couple interesting things on the wall over here. The blue light special that's blinking at us, it's actually a Bluetooth link. The RV doesn't have a traditional stereo. You can just hook to it and broadcast music through it. And then this right here, if you're curious, you can get a separate Bluetooth speaker with this RV, although with the... I feel like you either want to go Bluetooth speaker or you want to go wired in speakers. I don't know that you necessarily need both. Can you foresee some kind of benefit in going with a sort of dual speaker system? Leave me a comment, let me know. I'm not real sure myself. Now, overall, decent counter space here. It is a little bit shoved in the corner, so using some of it can be tricky, but I love how they gave us some easy reach power outlets, and they can do that because of the style of wall construction they use that most RVs can't. We'll talk about that a little bit more on the outside of the RV. But I think over here, I put like an air fryer or something like that. I'd be kind of curious, what would you put in that area? Now, it does not have a side splash, which is funny because I actually saw a couple Wolfpacks very briefly that did, and now they're gone, and I wish I could understand why. And in case you're also wondering, that blank panel right there, they didn't waste it. It's space that's used on the outside of the RV for a camp kitchen. Now, I want to plop my butt down here at the theater seat and give you kind of a view from the driver's seat. Tootsie Toaster, Bunyan burning straight across from you. Dealer's choice, choose your own television. I'd go with a smart TV if I added anything. And then remember, because this sucker is tall, they had room for like extra cabinet space up there that a lot of other RVs just lack. But one thing this RV does lack is good campsite window coverage. That is one of its hitches in its giddy up. With the ramp patio, I wonder if it matters as much if you're not already going to be outside, but you know what? I can see somebody still liking windows. I'm not sure. There's that extra camera mount. The reason this is up here, by the way, is if you do have some cargo loaded in the, flex function bunk area of this sucker, you could be able to eyeball like if you go over a set of nasty railroad tracks and the RV bounces real hard, you could make sure that your stuff in the back end is sitting where it's supposed to be, basically. Now, the window in the entry door is shade prepped, doesn't include a factory shade. And then right by the door, behind the entertainment, you got yourself a full-on walk-in pantry-tainment center right there. I'm not like the shelves, it's kind of nice that they don't go all the way up to the door. That does make stuff a little susceptible to bouncing out of place. If there are any owners who have this floor plan or one like it with that similar kind of walk-in pantry, I would really like some input from real owners as to what they kind of found there. You know what? I think we're pretty much good here. Let's start cracking open. There's a wall behind me. About knocked the air out of myself. The kitchen storage, shall we? Starting up top here. That is a 12-volt DC compressor fridge, by the way. Last I knew, I think there's still a gas-electric two-way fridge swaption available on these. You'll drop down from like 10 to 8 cubic foot in capacity. Black stainless farm sink, always looking good over there. You got that high-rise sprayer faucet. And, man, they put max size full extension drawers under those dinette benches over there. So a lot of times, if there's just doors on a dinette, getting to the stuff in the back can be tricky. Now the storage comes to you, which I think is awful nice. Taller slot. Yeah, I think we've pretty much covered stuff in here. If I've missed something, leave me a comment. By the way, if you're going to leave a comment, it's very handy to leave a minute marker if you have a question. Like if you type 12:34, like 12:34, like you'd see on a clock, YouTube will auto-link to that part in the video. Handy little pro tip there for you. Let's talk about this real quick. It's going to be called a king bed in the brochures. It's some kind of camp king. It's 70 inches wide, and it's 66 inches long. There is room to put a longer bed in here. One thing I will caution you on, though, if you go with like a 70 by 80 bed, the swinging door that's already in place here will just kiss the corner of that mattress. So if you go with a 70-inch wide and 80-inch long mattress, you're going to have to like lift the mattress to open the bedroom door. That sucks. I kind of wish this was a sliding door, but it's not, so I can't fix that. Never mind. But if you went with a True Queen bed, which if you notice by the overhang of the mattress, it is True Queen capable. If you went just a 60 by 80 easy residential swap out, it would fit no problem. No issues there. And speaking of fitting no problem, with that taller ceiling, even though they went with full-on overhead cabinets here, I kind of found headroom is not an issue. Not to mention, you've got that, again, full storage overhead, and I love that it's fully enclosed. One nitpick I have in this bedroom, though, is that there's not gas struts to make that mattress lift a little bit easier. I had to lift the mattress with one hand and then wedge the bed platform with the other hand in there. It's not the end of the world, but it's certainly not my favorite thing. Now, something that you may feel is a deal breaker and end of the world, and if you appreciate how we'll go out of our way to make sure that you get to know the stuff that isn't cool on the RV, please hit the like button or leave us a little note that says, "Thanks, nerd." The road mode on this, it's got a major hiccup. In the road mode axis on this one, I'm going to call it SEPFR. And in case you're wondering, that means that you can get to everything except for the bedroom. Your kitchen drawers, your refrigerator, all that kind of storage, that stuff is easy. You can, walk right in the door, get to your pantry. I did verify, by the way, that you can, just barely, but you can swing that bathroom door open and shut and you can get back here, and consider the fact that with this, potential cargo area in the back right here, going down the road, you could have yourself a nice available cargo space, potentially even doing some things like maybe some double seat kayaks right up the backside of this beast here, like you're going to give us some kind of kayak colonoscopy or whatever. And keep in mind, you could potentially use the bunks for sleeping. It just all kind of depends. At the end of the day, the one big thing here, though, The bedroom's done, son. It is worth mentioning, though, this is a rack and pinion slide, so if you do want to crack it open partially and kind of weave your way between the kitchen counter and the slide to get up to the bedroom, maybe just to throw your clothes in before your trip or get your dirty clothes out after a trip, you can do that. I don't recommend doing it in the rain, though, because the slide seals aren't fully engaged if you do that, and that could land you in a hairy situation. And if you can manage that, well, hats off to you. Oh, yeah. Alright, so one of the hitches in this one's britches is the fact that I do not consider it half-ton towable, and I'm sure that there's a lot of places that if you had a half-ton pickup, they would gladly take your money and leave you saddled with this thing, but I'm not going to be one of those people. If you take a look at those weights and the measures, I do think that what you're going to want for this thing is a solid 3/4 ton. I don't know that you need to necessarily go 1 ton. I don't know that you need to go dually, but you know, it is a case where more truck is not going to disappoint you in the way that it rides and handles by any stretch of the imagination. Now, last year, they had a walkable roof, but they had no way to get up there. What they've gone to here is that telescopic removable ladder prep mount up there. Keep in mind, when you're shopping for those, here's a little RV pro tip. If this is handy for you, hit that little subscribe button. Those are not all the same length. Some of those are 11 foot, some are 13, 14 feet. What you're going to want to do is you don't want to just measure from the ground to the ladder mount. You actually want to add about 2 feet because those ladders are not intended to stand vertically. They're intended to kind of stand leaning against the RV at a bit of an angle so the ground is supporting the ladder legs. Keep that in mind. Handy little tip there. Now, on the back side here, obviously we got the ramp patio package, and if you unhook those cables, it'll lay right down and go into, you know, ramp mode so that you can do some loading. Up top here, it is prepped for a 4-camera system. So basically, you know, camera in your loading area on the sides and in the back here. And if we close that up, give you a little bit of a look at the ramp itself, just to kind of see how everything sort of, you know, looks together when it's all closed. I figure you're buying the whole thing, potentially. You'd probably like to see the whole thing. Now, it does only have one of those roll-down tent screen walls. You can kind of see the little straps for that hanging down. They do not offer a 3 seasons patio wall on this one. That is the #1 request I get anytime there's any sort of toy hauler situation. And I get the idea for that on something like this, but the way that this one's laid out in the back, I'm not sure a 3 seasons patio wall really makes the most sense, but it is handy to not have to close the ramp every single time. By the way, in case you're curious, the spare tire is mounted under the back end over here. Now, while we're looking down, we're getting downtown on this thing, we do have power corner stabilizer jack standard. The underbelly is enclosed, and what you can't see is that there's also holding tank heaters standard on these, and it is forced air heated, which is kind of nice. Now, they've never cold chambered and tested these, so I can't tell you it's some kind of like Arctic package or any nonsense like that, but it is enclosed, it is heated, all that kind of handy dandy stuff. Now, they've gone with a little bit of a mirror film tint on the windows this year, which, I don't know, I kind of like the look of it. Not everybody does. One thing that does look funny on this model, though, it really feels like they probably could have extended that awning to the left a little bit toward the back of the RV. The awning's actually not small. It's just a pretty big RV. It's just that I think without question, I mean, look at that. There was definitely room. 2 foot on the awning could have been accomplished here. It's just one of those things. Outside speakers on these, although mounted at about head level, so I can give that a pass. I don't mind that. I personally, I got this thing about speakers mounted up against the roof line. I just don't like it. Anyway, tankless on-demand water heater over here. So if you're taking a shower and somebody flips on the hot water in the kitchen, you don't suddenly take a cold shower, you know? And they have standardized now the Goodyear Endurance radials. Previously, these were running on import tires, so that's a nice little handy-dandy feature. Now, you may notice there's 2 leash latches. There's another one directly below the TV mount. So if you want to keep your dog kind of tied up under the awning and not baking in the sun, you can do that too. And this is kind of smart right here, where you have the L-shaped kitchen inside. You'd have to, there'd be no way to get to some of that cabinetry. So they utilize it outdoors with a small but pretty packed camp kitchen. We got a fridge, ice maker, the dog dish, flip the water on the ground kind of sink, which is my favorite, but it is what they could accomplish here, and a little 2-burner cooktop. And if you don't like that stuff, there's no option to remove it from the factory, but it's also not extremely hard to just take that stuff out. I will tell you though, that ice maker actually works pretty darn well. Now let's talk some structural build stuff here, because you see fiberglass and your brain typically instantly goes to aluminum. That's actually not what these are. These are a stick-built camper. If you're familiar with its little brother like the Black Label Grey Wolves, this is just a Black Label Grey Wolf on steroids. That's what this is right here. One thing I do like that they do here though, they do give you a full pass-through compartment, which is something that not all the members of this RV family have. Plus, notice the handy little cargo tie-downs there. That's pretty useful. Additionally, as I back up here, one of the other things I want to point out is just the physical size of it. Because they did go with a taller ceiling and they went with a max width profile, this is 102 inches wide. In English, that means 8'6". And if you don't use the Imperial system, if you're on metric, you're going to have to convert. I'm not that good at it in my head anymore. But my point is, it is a big brick of space that you are towing behind you, so kind of keep that in mind. Although they've gone with a more, it's not pure stark white skin, it does have a slight gray tinge to it, so they're still trying to stay true to that platinum name within their family there. One last little detail here. I don't usually like to end on bad news, but it doesn't have to be awesome to just be true. It is what I call a two-headed sewer monster. This is a kitchen gray tank outlet here, and then back there at the back of the RV, that's where you have your bathroom black and gray. That's also why, if you look at the total holding tank capacities on this, the gray tank reads as artificially large because it's actually two gray tanks. They're not cross-plumbed together. One for the kitchen, one for the bathroom. Now, one of the things I often like to do is I try to leave you links in the video description, not only to be able to check pricing and availability on one of these, but also to see what else might be similar and what else might work for you. The trick is, like I said, there ain't a whole lot else that's very similar to this. Catalina does make one though, and I think some other brand does, but I've never personally been able to get my hands on and review any of the other ones. But it's not necessarily a unicorn, but it is fairly close, I do think. So let me know what you think about her. And when you're ready, we're ready. And if this ain't the one, let me know what you're looking for, and I'll see what I can scare up. So take care, stay safe, have fun, and happy camping, everyone. And yes, I went to Bosley.